What's up guys, today I'd love to answer the question that I received at least 1,000 times to my inbox. It is, how do you train chess effectively so that you don't just play on the same level, but you keep progressing gradually? And our goal for today would be to give you the training study plan that you can follow in order to reach the 2000 rating level if you have 30 minutes to allocate for chess per day. I'm also gonna tell you what to do if you have less or more time available, so stay tuned. First off, I recommend that you start off with a short tactics training. And by tactics training, I mean solving puzzles. And it's enough to do that for just 5 minutes. With tactical drills, you solve 2 goals with single exercise. First off, you simply get yourself focused on chess, because you have a lot of things going on in your life, right? You have your work or maybe your school, you need to take care of yourself, tease your little sister, play with your dog, etc. So before you start actually playing chess, you gotta get focused on chess a little bit so that when you start playing, you don't blunder pieces or make some other obvious mistakes. So that's the first goal of solving puzzles. And the second goal being just accumulating those different tactical patterns. The more you solve those tactical puzzles, the more you get used to those different tactical patterns, and the easier it will be for you to see them in your own practical games. All right, so maybe you already solved the first puzzle while I was talking blah 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 about different stuff. So let's try it out together. I'm just gonna show you real quick how you do that, okay? So here's an example of tactical puzzles. Now, usually you know that you're gonna need to attack, okay? So first of all, you focus your attention on opponent's half of the board primarily, asking yourself, how do you move forward to opponent's half of the board and play a forcing move? A forcing move is a check, capture, or an attacking move. So that's how you find attacking moves while playing chess or while solving tactical puzzles. Okay, so the most forcing move usually is a check, because that forces your opponent to defend his king. Now, can you check your opponent in this position? There is a move Queen a4, which is actually quite interesting. We attack the king, it's quite unpleasant. It's not winning though. Black can play Queen c6 and cover, but at least you can win a pawn, so it's a decent option. But anyway, that doesn't win the game. Now, what else do you have? You could take over here on f8, but that doesn't give you anything. Black can recapture, and that's the end of your attack. Okay, there are no other meaningful checks anymore. What else can you do? As for captures, is there any capture that you can execute here? Rook takes f8, we already discussed, that doesn't work. There is knight takes d5, which is nice, it attacks the queen, although at the same time that hands your queen on b3, but computer already suggests us that it's a nice move to play. After queen takes b3, there is a catch. You can follow up with knight to c7 checkmate. So that was the solution to the puzzle. Okay, so that's how you do that. This way you don't just guess the right move, but you actually follow a proper thinking system so that you can actually find attacking moves or combinations yourself while playing chess. And here's a little practice for you. It is white to play and win, and if you can't find the winning variation for white, please write it down in the comments below. That said, solving tactical puzzles is more of an additional thing, more of a warm-up, to be completely honest with you, so I would not recommend that you spend too much time on it. That said, of course, there is another part of it. If you just love doing that, if it's fun for you to do so, go ahead, do that. Solve tactical drills, go bungee jump, or do whatever, right? Life is meant to be fun, so I'm fine with that. I'm just telling you how to train efficiently, okay? Now, once you're done with your tactical training, we're gonna move on to the next thing, which is playing and analyzing your games. And here, of course, I understand that it's always exciting to just play blitz games, and I love that as well. Okay, but in order to improve, you cannot just be playing all the time doing the same things. You gotta learn from your errors so that you can improve from one game to another. Here's how you do that. Here's a game between 2 amateur players. Let's say you have played this game. Let me first show you the game real quick. Okay, here it was the Ruy Lopez opening. Black played pawn d6. Here white traded on c6, played pawn d4, and black played bishop g4. White traded on e5, and after this trade and knight takes e5, it actually finished pretty quickly with rook to d1. Let's say you played a game like that, okay? What do you do next? Well, after that, you're gonna need to turn on the engine and quickly go through the game, trying to figure out a couple takeaways that you can learn from it. In this case, I've opened Lichess, but of course you're welcome to use any other chess software that you like. So let me turn on the engine and we go through the moves with an engine. Now, we don't have to dig too deeply, so as long as your moves are more or less fine, we can go through them without analyzing them too much. And here you can see that d6 was like not the most popular move, and although it's not too bad, you may also just have this little takeaway that perhaps you played this move because you didn't know an opening theory of the Ruy Lopez opening, and maybe you need to learn it a little bit better. By the way, if you love to do that, I've got another video where I cover that Ruy Lopez opening in one really nice attacking variation for black. But for now, let's move on. Anyway, it's also not too critical. White traded here on c6 and played pawn d4, and black played bishop g4. And we see that the evaluation actually changes. It's been almost equal up to that point. After bishop g4, it shows almost +1 for white. And +1 is kind of like white is having an extra pawn, right? So computer clearly doesn't love the move bishop g4. And your goal would be to try to figure out what's wrong with it. Well, and the thing is, after this exchange on e5, we can see that black has a number of pawn islands, those weak pawns, and that's what is bad in black's position here. So you do want to keep your pawns compact, standing closer to each other and defending each other, covering all the squares around. This way you have your nice pawn structure. Otherwise, you have a long-term problem, a long-term weakness. Here, white took on d8, black recaptured, and you see that although in the real game, white blundered here, the checkmate in one with a move knight to e5, but in reality, if white played a more appropriate move, such as bishop to e3, actually, white is clearly better and black's in trouble. White is start attacking these weak pawns, and it is really unpleasant. So you will at least know that if you're playing this variation for black, it is tricky. It's not that black played a perfect game and won easily. It was actually a tricky variation, and it worked out thanks to white's blunder. But moving forward to your next games, you will know that there is a risk here, or if you play this variation as white, you'll know how to refute black trying this line against you. So within this quick analysis, you already learned a couple useful takeaways that you can carry on to your next games. Now, you don't have to analyze every single game that you play. I understand it can be boring sometimes, but at least analyze some of them, at least one of them. That is already enough to learn something new so that you keep progressing in chess. Okay, and now time for the final step of your training, which is to study chess. And I've added here in brackets openings, because I'd recommend that you keep first things first, right? If you don't get out of an opening, it doesn't matter how brilliant your endgame skills are. Now, let me share with you one quick example. White player is 2700 rated. It's an online blitz rating, and black player is rated 2400. So white player is clearly stronger, but let's see the game. Black played pawn c5, an unusual opening. White thought to himself, okay, why not to grab the pawn? Black continued with pawn to e6, opening up for his bishop to regain pawn on the next move, and white thought, hey, let me solidify the pawn there so that I fixate my material advantage. Black played pawn a5, trying to split up and grab those pawns, so I thought to himself, okay, if I play pawn a3, that's pretty bad, because after this exchange, I can now recapture back, because I'm going to lose my rook, thanks to this pin. And so he played pawn to c3, which makes perfect sense. But the problem was, after this exchange on b4, that was actually an opening trap. And with the move queen to f6, black won, because there is no easy way for white to get out of this. In fact, there is no way to get out of this at all, because white is losing material here. Now, how come that a strong player, 2700 rated player, lost the game basically within 5 moves? Well, he fell into an opening trap. And should have he calculated these lines? Well, I'm pretty sure that he solves tactical drills. He knows how to calculate. But when you're playing a blitz game, it's certainly difficult to analyze all those different variations, right? So some of the opening theory, you just gotta know it. Otherwise, it's really difficult. Some people argue that, learning openings doesn't make you a strong player. I perfectly agree with that. But you gotta pass an opening stage anyway. Otherwise, it makes no sense to talk about anything else. But once you have a couple openings for white and for black that work well for you, then of course you're free to study other subjects, positional chess, calculation, endgames, etc. That is clearly a good thing to do just as well. Moreover, without studying, sometimes it's even difficult for you to analyze games with computer, because even if computer tells you what move was right or that your move was wrong, sometimes it's hard to understand, the rules behind those things, right? So these two items actually complement each other pretty well. Learning chess allows you to also analyze your games better and draw more meaningful conclusions out of that analysis. So these two are the main parts of your training that actually make you a stronger player. Now, in total, that training is going to take approximately 30 minutes. That's what I promised you at the beginning. So the whole training is going to take roughly half an hour. Now, I'm giving here some variations like 10 to 15 minutes because, one day you're going to play a little bit shorter, another time your blitz game may take a little longer, so I'm keeping a slight variety here. Same thing for studying chess. 10 to 15 minutes is usually enough to watch, let's say, one YouTube video or read one chapter of a book, so you do have some time to study something. Okay, now what do you do if you have less time available or if you have more time available? So let's start with having less time available. Well, in that case, you just pick a couple out of these three elements, right? You can do just one or you can do two, not all three. So for example, you have less time today, so you just do your tactics training and then you play and analyze games. So in that case, you're going to be spending some 15 to 20 minutes and you're still doing something meaningful. The other day, you can do tactics and study something. So you can just alternate that and still have something meaningful that you accomplished today. If you have more time available, what do you do then? Well, in that case, you need to prioritize those two key elements, which are playing and analyzing and studying chess. And you can just allocate more time for them. So for example, if you spend half an hour on each, your total training is going to be approximately 1 hour a day. So that's how you spend more time in the most meaningful way possible so that you progress in chess. And finally, if you want me to help you with your way to the 2000 rating level, I've got a dedicated course called 3 Steps to 2000 ELO. And with this course, I break it down all the subjects that you need to know on your way to that chess level, so that it's easier for you just to follow a proven curriculum and get the results that other people already got before you. Now, finally, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And either way, I hope that your chess progress is going to be smooth and fast. Best of luck.